You are watching and listening to Chris and LeicesterCitylive on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
All right. Good afternoon, good night, good morning, good day, good evening, goodbye, hello, wherever you are watching us from, in whatever part of the world, welcome along. It is LTiDtv from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Stick your comments in and join in the chat, and any questions for Steve, I'm sure I'll be happy to answer them at the end. Or if you're watching on catch up, stick questions and thoughts on the description below on YouTube. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, thank you very much for lending me your ears. Now, let me ask you, 14 days ago, what were you doing? Yes, I know, we were still laughing at Leeds, weren't we? But apart from that, what else were we doing? Well, you should have been celebrating a very special day. It was Steve Walsh Day, 14 days ago today. Now, some players, they want a statue. Other players, they want a bar or a suite or something named after them. No, this guy, he gets a whole day named after himself because he had something just to do with that thing there, the playoff final, 94. Third time lucky, we made it thanks to this man. We'll bring him in straight after this and have a chat with him. The legend that is Steve Walsh.
The TalkSport Fan Network is the ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts,
including Leicester Till I Die, independent analysis and reaction for the Foxes faithful.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
Unbeatable club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Follow the podcast on the TalkSport Fan Network.
Steve, hello, sir. How the devil are you? Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm great, thanks. Yeah, I'm just waiting to go and play golf in Muzzy this afternoon. So, it's I've not played for a year, mind.
I just can never get into golf, I'll tell you. But I'm sure you had much more fun though with the bigger ball. That sounded wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, we certainly did. I didn't realise that it's 30 years ago. You know this special day, this game.
I still look back on the late 90s as if it was yesterday.
Yeah, well, I do as well. It just shows you how time goes, doesn't it? It flies, and it was special memories, them 90s, because we played at Wembley 7 times out of 10, I think, wasn't it, in that decade?
Yes,
incredible. Yeah.
We managed to win 1 or 2 as well, which was something of a change for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good days, good memories.
It is. Well, like we say, we don't win very often at Wembley. We did manage to do that day, and of course, it took us back to the Premier League. Wasn't it nice this year not to have? Well, we could watch the playoffs and enjoy them, not being in them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that was the last thing we wanted. Although the fans love a playoff, love the playoffs. it could have worked out wrong. And the very nervy times they are playoffs, as you saw with Leeds, and it was incredible. Really, brings back a lot of memories when you watch them playoff finals now. I played in four finals, and they're not for the faint-hearted, I can tell you.
I've got to say, I mean, because obviously you played in a League Cup final, didn't you, as well?
Yep.
Yeah. What was more pressure, the League Cup final because it was a cup final, or this because it was taking the Premier League?
I think the playoff finals were more pressure because of what the stakes were, because of how it operated. The semi-finals. Then you've got to play. You play your home and away, and then you qualify for the final, and it's so nerve-wracking. As a player, and the process and getting to Wembley, the euphoria, we don't forget we failed twice, and the heartbreak of losing is not a nice feeling. We did it 3 times, with Brian Little. It was incredible. He predicted that, in 3 years he'd be here, and that was his time scale to get promotion to the Premier League. And we were unlucky the other times. You've got to look closely at them. It was a penalty decision, dodgy penalties, and we'd lost 2 games against Blackburn and Swindon. So the derby was even. Yeah, it was even more pressure going into the 3rd game with Derby. But Blackburn, the first game, red hot day, never forget it. First time I've been in a playoff final as well. Real nervousness about that. We didn't play that well, to be honest with you. And I felt as though I got caught up with the occasion, really. And like I say, it was a hot day for big lads, especially. He's just a little bit more difficult carrying the weight that we carry, but it was again, we were very unlucky, and it was that David speedy dive that won the game in the end.
It was a dive, wasn't it?
It certainly was for me, although we'd have been happy with that, but he did. He dived forwards. If anything, he should have gone backwards, but no, it was a dive for me, clearly, and and the referee succumbed to it. So it was really hurt my feelings. That I'd cost the team, and it took its toll. But we were determined then, to get back again and make amends for that final. And I, especially myself personally, and I was utilised in that. In that second year up front, wasn't I, throughout the season, and scored about 16 goals with it, I think.
Well, if only we could do that with Yannick, we'd be well happy.
Yeah, that's right.
With this game, we went on to sign David Speedy, and I suppose if you can't beat them, join them. Did he ever come and admit, go on, guys, out of it, it was a dive? Oh,
no, he would never admit it. He never will to this day. But that's Speedo, little cheater. So
how was he accepted into the team, though? Was he welcomed? Was he accepted? I mean, it's the game of football.
To me, I was a little bit surprised, to be honest. And look, you're going to have to earn your stripes. I've been at the club a little while, so he had a lot to do to make up for things, and we hit it off, really. The relationship, you can laugh about it, but it still deep down hurt me more than it did, and he got the laughing rights, to that. But still, we became, what Brian liked was a tall and small striker, and with Joach and myself, then it was Speedy. They worked. Them partnerships worked out very well.
Yes,
and we were both threats in the air and with Speedy's feet, so it was a real good, shape of partnership. So, I used to like
If that wasn't bad enough, I mean, we like to make the dramatic Leicester, don't we? We never do anything easy. We had the heartache, and this. I interviewed Brian Little a couple of years ago, and he hates this match. He absolutely hates it. He hates talking about it. I mean, I've got to say, if you're a neutral, and they said, didn't they, it's the best ever playoff final there's been, but I'd driven down to Leicester to watch it with my parents and my girlfriend. Never spoke a word on the way back. 3-0 down. And again, another dodgy penalty.
Well, this was it. The Swindon game, like I say, I'd had quite a good season. I scored a lot of goals. I got over my injury problems, and it was a long season. But again, like I said, we were that determined to get into them playoffs first of all, and that was the key, getting there first of all. But the final, obviously with Glenn Hoddle, he scored just before half time, didn't he? If I recollect. And we found ourselves, after half time, 3-0 down, shortly after half time, and we were backs against the walls, backs against the wall. And you've just got to attack. Then you've got to come out fighting, and that's what we did. And I remember when I got us back in it with the header against the post. And, I thought that was in, to be honest, as I fell down onto the floor. And then Jolchin tied it up and we got a lifeline. And then it was all one-way traffic. Swindon were completely on the ropes. We, everything was positive. The crowd was so loud and willing us to get back in this game. And then obviously, I scored the second, didn't I? Yeah. And that was just a Philpott high header, if I remember. Or was it Mill? Yeah, it was Philpott, wasn't it? Lee Philpott. And it was just a high cross in the end. And I got my head to it and got us back in it. 3-2. And Thompson shortly after. What a finish that was. And the move, and how he glided through and his placement was so, Steve Thompson-like. And
I think he was very underestimated, Steve Thompson, as a player.
He was a terrific player. Yeah, he supplied me, like Gary Parker, a lot of corners and free kicks that I could attack. With the headed threat that we had. And Thompson, that goal and the crowd. I mean, at 3-3, there was only one winner. Oldfield then run right through the pitch and should have scored to make it 4-3 and run it too far and right into the keeper, if you remember.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, and look, we were. There was only one winner in that game, and then obviously that dreadful penalty decision cost us again in the end, and it was it White? I think was it
dodgy referees in the playoffs.
To be hurt twice like that, it was real. It took a long time to get over. Put it that way. It was really hurtful. We didn't deserve that, and it was, like I say, just it took a long time. And you go away with summer holidays, and you come back, and you're just thinking, not again. We can't do this all over again, can we? Surely. And obviously you've got to get up for it. And it was another long season.
And did Brian Liddell, did he sort of use that to galvanise the team?
Yeah, I think he did. I think it was the fact that we've done it twice, not three. I don't like to use the phrase third time lucky, but obviously it was. But no, it was hard to galvanise that squad after being wounded that and hurt that much. But I think it made us, when we started the season, we were really determined then again. And you get your head down, you get on with it, and you get through the games, and we did, and we were, we were playing well, we were scoring goals at times, and it was a mixed fortune season, but we obviously, I got injured, didn't I?
This was my next slide. Your season. Yeah. You really did suffer with injuries that season, didn't you?
Yeah, the Middlesbrough away, never forget it, early on in the season, and I'd snapped my cruciate ligament, which was one of the worst injuries I could get. 6 months out, and really you're a year out before these didn't get right. I obviously wanted to get back, and I just hoped that the lads could get at least to the playoffs. And in them 6 months, I just trained hard. Recovered, but I was never 100% right. Once you've had this injury, people know you're never the same. and it was a shame, really. But I could get myself as fit as I could, and did a lot of work just by myself, training, and it was real sad kind of time for me, really, to watch the lads. But they soldiered on, and then they got us through there into the playoffs, which then just before, I think we played Portsmouth, Brian Little brought me back, put me up front. We were 3-0 down, I remember, and he just shoved me on for the last 15, 20 minutes, and it was good to be back, to be honest. You know, and yet then we were into the playoffs, so I'd not had any time to get any games under my belt, really, and everyone knew I wasn't fit. You know, Brian did deep down.
Well, Brian asked you. I've read online that you weren't convinced you were fit yourself, were you?
Well, sorry, I knew I wasn't fit, but I wasn't going to tell Brian that. You know, and you know, especially against Derby of all teams, you know, I was going to come back with a broken leg against them, and beat them. You know, that was my goal. Was, you know, I could see Derby. This is going to happen. You could just see that this was going to happen. And it did. So yeah, Brian. You know, we trained up to then as much as I could, struggling with this injury. Just my leg the muscles weren't strong enough really to carry me playing. Plenty of tablets down, you know, the old Voltral tablets that we used to use them in them days. They were brilliant, kept me going. And so yeah, we got to Wembley, and Brian, I remember the night before, he sat me down and he said, "Look, Walshy, I need to know, first of all," he took me in a private room and said, "Look, you know, are you 70% fit?" And I said, "Yeah, I am. I know I am." And I knew I weren't even 50% fit. And you know, I wasn't going to miss out on this.
No.
And obviously I gave him a bit of a you know, an opportunity to put me straight back in. And obviously he wanted it, and he knew that I was capable up front of scoring goals. And I was must admit, the you know, on the day of the game, when he announced the team, when we were in just after our lunch, I think it was, we were in a bit of shock, you know, thinking, flipping at you and Ormond Droid and myself up front, what's going on here? It didn't feel right, it didn't sound right. I thought I should have been at the back, you know. Obviously, Brian knew what he wanted. He knew it could work. And to be fair, Derby missed a lot of chances that day. They should have beat us on the hook when you look back at the play.
I watched the game yesterday. But looking at the table there, I mean, Forest had gone up. That hurts. But, I mean, fourth, was that a disappointment? I mean, there was a big gap from second to third. I mean, you know, there was 9 points. But then from Millwall, Leicester, Tranmere, Derby, there was only 3 points separating all 4 teams. But was that a disappointment that you didn't make it through to automatic?
Yeah, I suppose it was. But, you know, it was the lifeline is the playoffs. And I just can't remember how the last few games who we played of the season. Do you remember who we played the last few games?
Yeah, I mean, you actually, from the 2nd of April onwards, you went unbeaten until the end of the season. So that was 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, I think I've got the slide.
That's right. Because I remember, you know, as getting in, you know, we'd have this really good run, and then I think the last couple of games, was it? Who did we play in the? Was it
you played Wolves was the last game, Bolton before that, and then Stoke. I think the thing was you hadn't lost, and I say it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 games there which you hadn't lost, but you'd only won 2 of those. You'd drawn 7, right. And I think that's probably what cost you a place in the top 2.
Yeah, we narrowly missed out, really. So it was a little bit, you know, you're thinking we should have done this, really. But we've got another chance. And you know, the playoffs, we weren't, you know, obviously going into it after you've lost 2, you know, surely it can't be 3. It can't be. We've got to win this. So I think we were so fired up mentally, you know, so focused on this game. I wasn't personally myself. Like I said, I didn't feel it was the right decisions for the manager, but it was, it was fantastic how he did it
and all that.
Yeah.
But we do Tranmere, because obviously we played Tranmere, who had finished 5th, and Millwall were taking on Derby. First game there 0-0. Second game 3 days later 2-1.
Yeah, I wanted to play in the first one. I wanted to play in that, but Brian completely left me out, thinking, look, it gives me more time to get myself a bit more fitter and the injury to settle a bit more. So he completely left me out, and must admit I was a little bit disappointed about that, because I thought they needed me, but we got a 0-0 draw, I think.
0-0, yeah. The first
0-0.
0-0, yeah.
Yeah, I travelled up and watched it, obviously, and I thought, do you know what? I fancy us now to get to the final, definitely, 100%. It's in our hands. I loved it when we played away and then home in that second leg. You just knew what was going to happen, and I think Speedy took the goal off me. I came on as sub, and I think he kind of, I should have finished that, but I thought I'd just leave it for him anyway.
Well, I was going to say two things there. I mean, if you look at this year's playoffs, both first legs went 0-0, and then the home team went through. And then the second thing I was going to say was, did Speedy make up for the dive by getting the goal that took us to Wembley? But I guess not if you pinched it off your foot.
Well, I know. I thought I was going to get that, but he got it, and but it didn't matter. We were both in the right position to get the goal, and from there on in, we were in the final, and that's what mattered. It was all about getting to the final to give ourselves that chance to get into the Premier League for the very first time in the history. And I thought against Blackburn we were very, very close, and we would have been the first team to do that, wouldn't we? So yeah, and we'd not won at Wembley, so it was really crucial to everyone, really, that that not just for the finance of the club, but the welfare of everything. It was just the fact of what the fans had gone through was heartbreaking, and it was so vital to me that I played, and to the fans, they knew what they get, and I'd give anything, my right leg. I just would have.
We know anything. That you should have been born in Leicester, really, shouldn't you?
Well, yeah, I'm adopted.
You're adopted.
I'm happy with that. So,
that's the team. That's the team now. I mean, there's some great names. 4-3-3. I think that as far as I could work it out. You said earlier 3 up front. That was a bit of a surprise to you.
It was, yeah, with 3 up front, and as myself with Ewan Roberts and Ormondroyd, I just didn't, feel it was right. But it just kind of took me by surprise, really. But it obviously it was incredible, and to have some of those, you look back and Carey Willis at the back, and I thought I was needed at the back, really. We were cut open several times, Gary Coates with, right back, and, he assisted really with one of the goals for me, didn't he, with that looping first half cross to make it 1-1, wasn't it? So you look at the names on that team sheet, they were not, household names, but they were hard workers, and they're all fired up and determined to win this game after what had happened.
And that's the shame, because when you look at that team, you probably, if you were asked, I would struggle to name all 11.
Yeah.
And that's not because no disrespect to them. There's yourself, Ewan, Ian, Mike Whitlow, probably Simon Grayson, and Gavin Ward. After that, I probably would struggle in a quiz. But they, no superstars, no disrespect to any of you, but you were all hard-working lads.
Yeah, and that was what came through in the end. It was a bit of steel, but they could play. They could play football, and we could play football. And you see the move for the goal was brilliant football. getting it into Joachim myself, the switching of positions so that I'd get into the box. I knew that I had to get into the box before the cross came in, and Grayson's fantastic whip ball in. Ormondroyd header, I thought that was in, clearly did. It was such a good header. What a save, and obviously I was in the right place at the right time twice in that game and just followed up with a right foot of all foot tapping, but it meant so much.
Oh God,
the emotions when I speak about it now, it still sends me, and whenever I see it, it's emotional.
Oh yes, I mean I had Steve Lynett on yesterday talking about the semi, the 5-3 quarter final, and I mean there's certain games, and like I say, this has gone down with history. Steve Walsh Day, silence of the Rams, and all that. It's certain things that mean, but like you say, 27 minutes in though, and as a Leicester fan, I'm thinking, here we go again. But they've come close
absolutely.
Times before, haven't they?
Yeah, I know. And look, it was we had been, we looked nervous at the back. There was holes appearing everywhere. We were getting caught with longer balls in and behind, and it was Tommy Johnson, obviously, who broke free, and he finished it very, very well. Let's get that right. But we didn't start, that game very well. We didn't defend well enough. I kept thinking, what am I doing up here when I could be at the back and try and prevent this? We weren't organised enough, and fell behind. And but it was just from there. Hang on, we've got to sort this out. We ain't losing this again. There's no way over my dead body. And and
you probably would have done as well, knowing you, Steve. It probably would have been
absolutely.
But look, 41 minutes, and I really want to ask you about this goal because, as I've said there, obviously I've clipped this. On 41 minutes, Roberts blocked the Derby goalkeeper. Taylor with an elbow to his head. It says here, or it said on what I copied it off, a clear foul that referee Roger Milford failed to penalise, causing Taylor to drop the ball. Walsh headed, the loose ball goal bound. Paul Williams failed to clear off the line and scores were level. A couple of things there. First of all, do you think it was a foul? Did we get away with one there? Would that have been ruled out with VAR?
I just think it was a fair jump for the headers. I think everybody uses their arms to climb, and in this modern day probably would be now. In them days, I didn't class it as a penalty, as a foul. I just got over the top of everybody in the end and just got my head to it. But Ewan did well for me. He blocked the keeper a little bit. I guess you could call it a block. I don't think it was a deliberate foul at all. I thought it was okay. Yeah, I did.
And now, as a defender, give me your honest opinion on Paul Williams' attempt to head that ball.
Do you know what? The ball, when I headed it, it spun, and it was the spin on the ball that confused him, that did him, and he tried. Because of the bounce as well was an awkward bounce. He tried to head it out, and the spin done it like a cricket ball, really, when a spinner comes on. And that's what happened, and the ball spun, but it came off my head, luckily enough. And I must admit, I looked behind, running to the side, thinking, is that a goal? Crazy, but it didn't matter. We were back in it, and the momentum shifted, although Derby still had chances, loads of chances. You go into the second half, you go in at half time and you're happy with that. And we knew that it was there for the taking now. It was our turn.
And was that something, I mean, what was, this was something I was interested in yesterday with Steve, but the half-time team talk, you'd come back, it was 1-1, you'd gone behind, you'd got the equaliser. As comical as it was, we don't mind. It was, it was a goal, it was 1-1. What was Brian Little's team talk like at half-time?
Well, I think it was upbeat because we got back in the game, and we knew from that moment that we were excited, and he had to calm that. We knew that we were itching to get back out and win this game, and we had to tidy up a little bit at the back. We had, that nervousness had gone, And as the game went on, we did get better, but they still, came at us. Did Derby? They still had golden chances. Was it Harkness who had the old one-on-one? I just remember so many one-on-ones with the keeper and thinking, wow, we're still in this game. And you never
kind of, I think he was falling as he did it, and he kicked it. It would have been easier to score, I think, on one of them.
Absolutely. And I just couldn't believe my eyes again, and thinking, what am I doing up front? But still, you'd never say die with Leicester, because that's how we were, over the years of that decade anyway. We scored many late goals.
Did you say to Brian at half time, look, I think I'm needed in defence?
I didn't, because I'd scored the goal that got us back in, so there's no way he was going to put me back after getting us back in the game, and he knew there was a winner going to come.
Yeah, yes, and it did. 84 minutes.
84 was it? God, yeah.
84,
it seems like the 96 to me. Just
I can imagine.
6-10 minutes. It was unreal. But
it was a great move, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great move. And, I just remember the ball coming out to me, and like, I was just it's like just a pass inside to Joachim. And Joachim switching a lovely pass, a through pass, split the defender, the left back and the centre back in half. And Grayson's obviously had made the run, and we knew what was happening. So I had to get it back in and peel off and get into the box. And obviously Ormondroyd came across the front post, which you do. We're always taught that someone goes front, someone goes far. And, when I saw him make his run, I thought, I've got to come in at the far post. And and you're just hoping something comes back off the post or the crossbar, and the cross was absolutely sublime, but the header from Ormondroyd was perfect. He couldn't have done anything any better, and it was just the keeper had made such a wonderful save. It was a hell of a save, and it just came out into my pathway, and I just skipped in front of everybody and got my foot to it. And there's the picture. So it tells its own story, and obviously peeled off to that famous picture that I still sell now to this day.
There we go. As you say, I mean, that is an iconic picture. It's at the ground. I mean, it's you will.
The euphoria of what I went through that season all came into play. I wasn't fit, and I'd got the most important goal of Leicester's Wembley trips that we'd had, and we'd got into the Premier League for the first time in the history of the club. Meant so much.
Did you say when after that second goal went in, you still got 6 minutes to play? With the celebrations, the kick-off, that would be added on. Were you sort of saying to all the defenders, keep away from the bloody, don't bring anybody down, whatever you do?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And this is what you were dreading, and it was a long 8 minutes, whatever it was. I was absolutely out on my feet, and it was just an incredible scenes that when that final whistle is relief more than anything. And I think it was Richard Smith who jumped on me, and the whole stadium was a sea of blue, But I go back to before the game, because the fans need a big mention here, because until when we went down Wembley Way on the team bus, and the sea of blue that was before the big gates that open up, we couldn't get through. Them scenes, and inside the stadium, it was unreal. It really was. And obviously, not just because it was Derby, it was because of the 3 times we've been. And you look at fans, the kids and the faces and the emotions, incredible.
Oh, it was. And the only problem with actually going up that time is that we didn't get a day out at Wembley again the following season. But
absolutely. Yeah, we won't talk about that one, but we got relegated. No. I'd done my knee in the final, to be honest with you. I'd done more damage than in that final. I remember doing it, and I lasted 2 games. at Blackburn on a Tuesday night. Kenny Dalglish, the manager. I still played on through in the warm-up. I knew it was a clicking, popping, the cartilage had gone, and I just played on. I hit the post with head and then came off, and that was me done. And I wrote off my season. And, I was stupid, really, but, it was worth it when I look back.
Well, like you say, I mean, all right, you made a bit of damage, but, for the greater good, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. But I'm paying the price now these days, but I'll never give up what.
Now you're just down to walking around the golf course rather than playing.
Yeah, only just as well. I'll be in a wheelchair soon. As long as you push me around, Chris, that'll be all right.
And knowing you'd still get on that bloody pitch.
I probably would, mate. Yeah, you're right. But that Little Britain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yes, you and Muzzy behind you wheeling.
That's it. Yeah.
I can't let you go without very briefly. Look, we're back in the Premier League. We've lost the manager.
We'll have a manager soon, Chris. We'll have a manager soon. I'm sure the club, there's reasons behind everything. And I like everyone. I'm getting ready. The fixtures come out on the 18th. I'm ready for that. Looking forward to it, really. But like you say, we need a manager in place. I'm guessing you're going to ask me who my choice is. Do you know what? I'm just letting the club get on with it. I'm kind of not assuming. I'm not guessing. I am just waiting, like everyone else. And I'm really excited for the wait. And whoever comes in, the fans are going to get behind them. It's a massive season. And we know what the objectives are, and the squad needs. So it's going to be an interesting. Great Steve Vardy back. That just shows you. I'm built of loyalty, and that's even bigger loyalty for me. What he has
shown it. You were quite right. I was going to ask you, but obviously you've answered that.
I'm not going to.
I just think there's nobody really. I've got about 4 favourites, and if it's one of those 4, but like you say, whoever it is, we will give them our backing. Very last question though. One of my players of the season last season was Yannick Vestergaard, and I think he did. I think he was unfortunate because Brendan signed him. Why Brendan signed him, I don't know, because he wasn't a Brendan. He didn't fit into his plans or anything, and he took a lot of stick. I think unfairly. Came in last season.
Well, you say unfairly. There's always times when he got caught. When it was 1v1 situation, you obviously lacking pace, but he strolled it last season in a league that was pretty average, to be honest with you. Right, and I thought it would be done by Christmas, but he, like you say, I was so happy for him because he looked a player and he started, he was running the show. He was, when he was out, he was a problem, and he forged a relationship with Faz, although, at times it was a bit erratic with them two. They don't cover each other well enough, as like me and Matt Elliott did, and that's what they get isolated and they got done 1v1s in a different style of play. But you wonder if we get the right people around. I don't know. I don't really know. I can't judge in that Premier League how they're going to handle that. But I was pleased for him last season. I really was. Vestergaard, he came out and he was one of the best players of the season in that season. There's no doubt about it.
Oh no, I totally and utterly. Fair enough if players aren't playing well for whatever reason or they're being stroppy, but he was never given a chance. And I just think the criticism that he took the season before was very unnecessary. And I was pleased to see him. I just wondered as a defender, I'd say,
I think you look at in that. I see. Last season, I'd like to have played like a 3-5-2, and have someone alongside Vardy. That because I think we had the personnel for that as a 3, and 3 good centre backs really, who you think wow, but obviously then if they get isolated, there'll be a problem. But I just thought that would be the right way. Whether we've, you can clearly see that you need to, in this Premier League, you've got to be fast, you've got to be slick, you've got to be, careful of that. Will we play 5? I don't know. Will we play a 3? I have no idea. It depends on the new manager style of football and how we play. But what we had last year was technically better footballers than anyone in that league. We were technically by far the better team in that league, passing and playing. We saw that. Frustrating at times for everybody, but it was the style and the way that he wanted, and he got it out of them, and he got over the line in the end, and that was the most important thing, was getting over the line.
It was.
We've got to thank him for what he's done. It's just like us to get Chelsea away or at home.
I so want Chelsea away or home first game.
Yeah,
I so want that to happen. But yes, like you say, yeah, we thank him for what he did, even if we don't enjoy the way that it all ended up.
Yeah.
So, Steve, I know you got a golf game together. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about one of my favourite games. I know a lot of fans' favourite games. And I'd rather say, on behalf of Leicester fans, thank you for everything you've done for the club.
Yeah, well, that's very nice. And I'll never forget myself personally, these special moments that I played in for Leicester. And I played in so many games, so many last-minute goals and games, the Arsenal, Fulham, and, but this was the one, wasn't it, that counted.
Funny as you met, just very, very quickly, and I was going to ask you this, I think, a couple of seasons ago. You were going to be coming on. I'd won a chance to come on and ask a few ex-pros some questions, and I think you'd got a cold or something. But talking of Arsenal, Ian Wright at the end of that 3-3 game at Filbert Street, would you have punched him?
No, I wouldn't have punched him. No, it was all nothing really. He gave me a shirt at the end of that, after the FA hearing. But no, it was all banter, really, wind up. But you disliked him but he was a hell of a player. Let's get that, and we got one over on him, so it was great for me.
My money would have been on you, though.
I would have done him. No danger. Yeah.
Steve, enjoy your game of golf, and thank you so much for everything. And hopefully speak to you again soon.
Always a pleasure, mate. All the best.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye. What a gent there. What a gent. Right, let me just make myself big. There you go. The Viagra works. What a gentleman. It's always appreciate ex-players coming on because, they don't get paid for doing this. We can't afford to pay them. I remember I asked, I forget who it was. It was an ex-player, and he turned around and said, "Oh, how much are you paying? What's your budget?" And I'm like, but these guys, they give it because they love the club and they want to give something back to the fans. Steve Walsh, he wasn't born in. It's a bit like Alan Birchnell. Wasn't born in Leicester, but he is Mr. Leicester, isn't he? He's adopted, like he said, and proud to be. And that's what we get. Silence of the Rams, even if there's a spelling mistake in there. Don't think anybody's noticed. It is a bit of an early one because trying to get these players on, we do have to fit in with their time scale. And if I'd done it as a premiere, it was easier just to go live, and it's always available on catch up on LTiDtv on YouTube. But we are back tonight, 7:00. We've got Jack joining us from the Final Whistle. We've got two Jacks, in fact, tonight, because we've got Jack joining us from Matchday Vlogs, and Luke is joining us, Ipswich Town fan as well. We're talking promotion and how we got there. Leicester, Southampton, and Ipswich. I did invite a Leeds fan, but I don't know if his invitation got lost or not. Interesting. 7:00. We'll be back for that. Thanks very much for watching. Like I say, if you're watching it on catch up, add your comments in the description below. Always pleased to see them. Keep them respectful. And if you've been listening, like I say, via your favourite podcast platform, thanks to the TalkSport Sports Network, we thank you for that as well. And I will see you tonight, and I will see you at 7:00. Thanks to Steve, and thanks to everybody that's been watching. Take care. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.